Hi, this is the updated version of the tutorial for Link's virtual tour. In it, we'll cover everything that all the other tutorials covered from the previous version. There's been a lot of updates and upgrades since those previous tutorials were made, so this will be one video that covers everything. First, I created this using Windows 10 and Excel 2019, so I don't know if it will work on your machine or not. If it does, I hope so, and so that you can enjoy it as well. So let's get started. You will get a zip file from the Links corner, and in it you'll have two Excel programs, Links Virtual Tour and LVT Cup. We will be interested in starting up Links Virtual Tour. You can put this on any folder on your desktop or wherever you would like when you download it. So when Excel starts up, you'll get the end user license agreement. You have to agree to it or you won't be able to use the product. So we'll just go ahead and click on I agree, and then you'll get the splash screen or the main menu. So first we're going to talk about over here the master database maintenance and the various things you can do here. If you make updates to the courses, the tournaments, the past winner exemptions or the Fedex points, it will apply to every tour that you create using this product going forward, because you will see you can create multiple tours and run multiple tours at one time. So this will be the master databases and update everything at once for all tours going forward. So let's look at the course update real quick. It comes loaded with a set of some courses already from Link's Corner. This is where you will come in first, and you need to come in here and add, delete, update courses as you need for your particular purpose. But let's just take, for instance, say Augusta Nationals here. I can, if I wanted to change any of the whole pars, you can do that, or you can come in and add a new course like you wanted to if it's not in the list here. Or if you want to, you can delete a course and that you don't want in the list for your master database. So you have those choices to do for course. But again, like I said, any changes you made here will affect all the tours of the product going forward. Now let's take a look at the Fedex Cup Points update. If you create a tour that uses the Fedex Cup Points competition, then this is where you'll want to do this. Again, anything over here will affect any tours, all your tours going forward. So this is a master database for that. You have your different point structure that you can use here, depending on the type of tournament, if it's a major or it's a premier, which we categorize as such, like I believe the Memorial, one of the more premier events, or just a regular tour event, or it's an alternate tour event, which you'll learn what that is later on. The points are available right here, what's set up right now currently. You can modify these if you wanted to. You also have available to you your playoff point structure once they get into the Fedex Cup playoffs, and what the point structure is here for what points are awarded during the playoffs. You can modify that if you wanted. And then the Tour Seeding Championship, as you know, when you get to the Tour Championship, whoever was first in the Fedex Cup point standings at that time starts off at -10, so forth all the way to the top 30. You can change these values if you want to. And then the bonus, top 10, if you're in the top 10 at the end of the season, what the bonus is that you're paid out. And then the Fedex Cup bonus, if you win the cup, the top 150 players based upon that final standing in the Fedex Cup. So you have all these different elements of the Fedex Cup you can change, or you can just leave them the same. These come from what the most recent numbers are. Let's take a look at the tournaments update. So if we come over here, click on here, and you get the list of all the tournaments in the database and a way you could search for those, so you don't have to try to find a specific tournament. So for instance, if I want to get all the majors, I'll select my conditions, and there's all the majors that have been set up. Or maybe I want to say a combination of this, maybe select weeklies that are, let's say, all the top WGR. And those are the ones from the different tournaments. And let's say I only want a specific tour, maybe only the PGA Tour ones. And you can see, and so you can see all how that all allows you to make choices instead of just having to scroll through all. So if you want to reset it all, take it all back to select, and it'll give you everything. Then once you find a tournament that you want to update, just select it. I'll take the ATT Pebble Beach, and we're going to update, and you have your different elements here, different fields that you can choose to use to update on here. So let's say we go Spyglass, let's just go like that, and we'll say Spyglass, and then Pebble Beach again. You can vary those. There are certain restrictions on some of these. For instance, match must have 64 players. So you'll find if you go through here, some of the restrictions that are not allowed in combinations, such as alternate tournaments must be stroke play. If you're going to enter exempt years for the tournament, enter 999 for lifetime exemptions. So you click on Save the Tournament Changes, and that'll do that. You can see it's updated then. If you want to add a new tournament, you can come here and add it. Make sure you name it correctly, because you won't be able to modify the tournament name. You'll have to delete it and then re-add it. But you can put in your various information here that you want to. Like I said, then you could also delete a tournament if you want to. It'll ask you if you want to delete the tournament. So when you do this on this original screen here, this is for all tournaments in the database. As mentioned, you can create a tour, and then you can update the tournaments within just that specific tour. So that way you don't impact tournaments that might be used for other tours. And so that's a look at the tournament update. Now let's take a look at past winner exemptions. This is the ability to add or modify or delete any of the past winners of these tournaments. These tournaments here are the tournaments where the past winners for X number of years automatically qualify for the next year's tournament, such as the Masters. It's a lifetime exemption. So I've gone back, as you can see, all the way back the years to all the Masters champions and the US Open, so forth, all the way back as far as I could catch. And all these, because a lot of these players here are on your Legends roster. So they will be able to be automatically qualified for that championship if they're eligible for that. So, but anyway, you can add a new one if you wanted to, because any tournament that you create, you can make it have past champions exemptions if you want, if you're trying to create your own kind of tour and your own kind of tournament schedule. So this is available also. Now let's say we're ready to actually create our first tour. So we'll click the button here, and you put in your tour name. I'm just going to put test tour because we're going to end up deleting this tour in a moment. You put in your name. Now, if your name is the same as a golfer that is already on one of the rosters, then you're going to have an H inside of parentheses after your name, so you distinguish you from the LVT golfer. So it will look something like that. Select your country you're from. You have a lot of countries to choose from. What tour you're playing with, Champions, Legends, PGA. You could start with your initial World Golf Ranking points, anything from 0 to 550. And your career earnings can start from 0 or as much as 200 million. Select your player roster. You can select one or all or a combination of them, of players that you want to be on your tour roster. Here's where you can include the Fedex competition or not, and then also whether you're going to have past tournament winners be exempt or not. So right now I'm not going to pick anything because, like I said, we're going to end up deleting this tour in just a moment. As far as the initial stroke data that the players use that determines their scoring for the PGA Tour players, if they're on your roster, you have a choice of using the actual data that was captured, or using random data, or using the average of the whole tour. For the Champions Tour, you have the same information. And since the Legends don't have any tour data, so you can either use random data or the average of the whole tour. For the initial world golf ranking points, you can use what was captured, random, or everybody starts at 0. Same thing here, random, or all players start at 0. Here, random, or all players start at 0 because there is no WGR points for a Champions Tour. And so for career earnings, everybody can start with the initial career earnings, or everybody start at 0. For Legends, a lot of them do not have career earnings because they were before any, like from the 1800s, so they already are at 0. So anyway, you enter in your information and then you'll create your tour. And you give it a moment to create the tour. And when it's done, then it will come over to a window where you can update your roster. So we give it one moment here. And then you get your roster. Now this is like we selected every player from every tour. So we have the whole range here of players for our tour. But let's say you don't want some of them on your tour roster. Say, I don't want Fulton Allen. I would select him. I can select more than one person and say Aoki, just hit Control and select, and Control and select for any of the players you do not want. And then you would click on Save Tour Roster, and these players would be removed. If you do want to keep everybody, just come in and click Save Tour Roster. Now, if you pick someone and you messed up, hit Control and select again, and then that person is back in like that. And then you can just hit Save the Tour Roster, and it'll build the tour with all the players that remain on the roster here. So give it a moment, and then that tour will be created. And there we go. So it brings you back here. Now you can actually play the tour. We'll get into that in a little bit. You can play the LVT Cup, which we'll cover later, or like I said, you can delete the tour. Here you could also create another tour if you wanted to. If you maybe want to run one that's a Legends, one that's a PGA, one that's a Champion, or maybe one run that's Fedex Cup and one that's not. You can run multiple tours at the same time. But for us right now, we have just one. If it were multiple, they would all appear in here. But let's say we want to delete this tour because you're done with it or you messed up. So you just click on Delete Tour. Are you sure you want to delete? Yes. And then the tour is gone. And then, of course, we're back to the beginning here. If we had other tours, you would still have all the other buttons and the other tours in the drop-down box, which to select from. Okay, so we've created a tour called the No Fedex Cup Tour because we're going to look over playing a tour, a season of a tour where we don't use the Fedex Cup points. Later on in the video, we'll have one where we are using the Fedex Cup points. So as you see, you have a choice of tours. Like I said, you could have more than one, but we're going to then click on the one that we want, play the tour, and it'll bring up a screen here in a moment where we have to initialize our season and create a schedule. This may all run a little bit slower in this video demo because we're recording it, but it usually runs a little bit faster than maybe what you see here. So give it a moment, of course, then you get a message that you have to make any changes to the tour courses or the tournaments before you get started because they can't be updated during the season. You'll see a button over here also called Update Tour Settings. This comes up with the default that I set for the green conditions, the hardness and the speed, and what we have in links here, the challenge versus the non-challenge weighting, and your wind conditions, and the percentages as a default of what I use. If you want to change these, you can feel free to go ahead and change those for whatever your needs are, or you can restore them back to these numbers here later on. So as I said, we need to initialize the season. So we'll go ahead and click on that button. And you'll see you get sponsors exemptions of 0 to 9. You can make your choice there. It defaults to 3. You have your choice of season tours, season schedules that you can use that we've built. Remember, Links Virtual are those tournaments that you created when you were just updating and creating the tournaments. They were already existing on any of the PGA European or Champions Tour. And of course, only tournaments that have courses assigned are going to be displayed here, because if a tournament, if you did not assign a course to it, then it's incomplete. It doesn't know where it's going to be played. So make sure you update all your courses first, or update all your tournaments with courses so that they will be appear here. But for right now, we're just going to pick all of these because I did not create anything. If you did try one of these, it would just not have anything to display if all you did was pick Links Virtual if you didn't create anything. So let's go ahead and initialize the season, and we have our list of tournaments here. Now there are some restrictions you'll find out on the tournaments, such as the Century Tournament of Champions, which uses the past season's winners. With this being the first season, it's not going to allow you to pick it as the first season of the first tournament of the season, because this being the first season, there's no previous season's winners. So it won't allow that. Also, alternate tournaments can't be the first tournament of the season also, because it has to be placed opposite a regular tournament. Back on the Century Tournament of Champions, though, let's say you have a 20-week season, you want to put it down at the end, then it will pick up the winners for that whole year and use that. If you want to make it the first tournament of the season, then you can add it at the beginning of the 2023 season. When you do come into here, you'll see when we start the next season, you will have the opportunity to just copy the previous season schedule and use that as a starting point instead of having to rebuild the season every year. So you can make tweaks and add and drop tournaments season to season with just copying it from the previous year without having to rebuild. So, but right now, let's go ahead and just make a few here. Like I said, you have your choices since I picked all of them. So let's just start with, say, the Rocket Mortgage. It's a weekly tournament. And then we'll maybe do a European tournament here. And then let's say we have a major. Let's come down and pick a major here. Here we go. Let's go ahead with the PGA major. Let's see, here we are, the Masters. Let's go with the Open. And then if we want an alternate you'll see goes opposite any tournament. Usually you'll find it opposite of a major, and just confirms you want to add it as there. And you'll see that the week for the alternate will be the same as the tournament that's being played opposite of. See, week 3. So when we play the schedule, we will play the Open. Then anybody who wasn't qualified for the Open will be playing in the Puerto Rico Open. So let's come back and let's say we have some others here. And then maybe another, let's go down here. We also have match play if we want to use that. So let's go ahead and use a World WGC tournament here. And then, of course, if you try to add it a second time, it'll tell you that it already exists. So if I try to put the Open Championship again, which is already here, see, it's already on the schedule. So let's finish up with the U.S. Open. Just make something small here to give an example of creating a season schedule. So once you have all that information, and of course, as you put it over here in the schedule, it shows you the information. Now let's say you messed up and you wanted to move the US Open maybe up. You can move it up as you want to. Now see, if we go to 3 there, then the Puerto Rico Open becomes opposite the US Open and not the British Open. You can move it back down if you want to, etc. And of course, if you want to pull one out and put it back in the list here, you would just click on here and it'll bring you back over. So once you get your schedule set, then just come down here and save the schedule. Of course, if you cancel, it'll ask you, are you sure you want to cancel because you haven't saved it yet, and nothing will be saved at that point if you do that. So let's save it. Now, once you save it, you can't change the schedule, so make sure it's all complete for what you want for the season. So we'll say yes. We'll go ahead and click it and give it a moment to create the schedule here. And once it creates the schedule, then we'll be at a point where we can start playing the actual season. And like I said, running a little bit slower because of this being recorded. And then there it is, it's built and initialized. And it'll bring us up to the screen where we can start playing the tournaments. Just say the first tournament of the season we had was a Rocket Mortgage Classic, where it's being played, all the information about it. And we will come back here in a moment and look at playing tournaments. Before we do that though, let's take a quick look at canceling the season. If you get into the season, no matter how far you're into it and you decide, for some reason it's not right or you just want to try again or whatever, you can click on cancel current season and it will go through and erase the whole schedule and erase all the statistics and everything that was created for that season. And then you'll get to start it all over. So yes, we'll see that and you'll watch what it's doing here real quick. And you'll see we'll come back and we won't have a schedule and we can rebuild the schedule for the season and start all over. We can update tour settings, update our courses, our tournaments, etc., and start all over again with the season. So if we come back, we'll build another season here. It's again 2022. We'll initialize and build a season starting again. So I've created just a little schedule here for demo purposes, and we're going to show about playing the tournament, getting a tournament set up. So we're in the first week of the season. We're going to play the 3M Open. We're going to play the tournament. First, you're going to set your tournament conditions. You have your choice of wind speed and the green hardness and the green speed. If you're familiar with links, you know what this is for the 4 rounds. And then we got to select the tournament field. As we saw, this was a random players. So the computer is going to select based upon purse and rankings, which players will, with some randomness, be selected for this tournament. I've made it to where the higher paying out tournaments will tend to draw the higher ranked players. The lower paying out tournaments will tend to draw the lower ranked players. There was some randomness thrown in. So in this case, you see we set it up and with the field there, with the tournament conditions. Now currently I'm not entered to play. I have the option of using my sponsor's exemption or not. So at this point I'm just going to say no so we can go through and get it all the way in so you can see a tournament run without the human being part of the tournament. So if we click no, so we're not entered to play, we're going to set the round conditions for round 1. If you're familiar with the GBVC, you know about all of this. You can set the whole difficulty percentages and balances in each individual hole's percentage or difficulty. So then it's going to play round 1 and you're not scheduled to play. And it'll go through a series of checks here to let you know that it is indeed processing. It takes just a moment to do this. So give it a moment here. And when it's done, then you can go to the leaderboard, view round 1, or go back to the tour page. So if we go to the round 1 page, you'll see what happened in that round and the statistics that are kept for that round. We go to the leaderboard, we see the current standings of everybody. Now also at random, players will be withdrawn or DQ also. So if we go to number 2 then, we're going to go to round 2. Now you can view the tournament leaderboard, hole by hole leaderboard, which we'll go through in a little bit, or you can actually restart the tournament. Let's take a quick look at that. Let's say you didn't like the way things were happening, you want to just try it again, so you can restart the tournament. The tournament's been reset, which means then you'll have the opportunity to play if you didn't want to the first time, if you didn't get a chance to play. So let's come back in. Let's go ahead and finish up this tournament real quick here. See, back to the beginning. We're going to go through it now. Since you restarted the tournament, the round conditions will probably be different and the players probably be different as well. So we'll go round 1 and let it go through the stuff here. Okay, let's just go to the leaderboard. Go to the tour. We'll just play this one on out so you can see what it looks like all the way through. Play the round, round 2. Go straight to the round conditions. They can change every round. And give it a moment to finish up its running here of round 2. Now, I believe this tournament, the cut is after round 2, so you'll see players that missed the cut and players that made the cut. Come down. The cut was at -2, and everybody else down here missed the cut. So let's come back up to the top then, go to the tour screen, and play round 3. I'll let it do its thing here. Okay. And now we're coming, Sam Snead's in the lead. We'll come up to the 4th round. Play the round. And see how it finishes out. Okay, we'll go to the leaderboard, and we see Morris Otoski came from behind with a big 65 to beat Sam Snead. So we can go back to the tour screen real quick, and we'll show you. Now, usually you might want to just create the tournament record right afterwards, but I want to show you something before we create a tournament record. Like I said, you can go right here to view the leaderboard, or we can come back and view the hole-by-hole leaderboard. What this is, this also can be viewed anytime during the tournament at the completion of any of the rounds. But since we're doing it by round 4, you'll have your choice of up to 4 rounds to start it. So let's see how Morris Otoski, for instance, came up from behind to beat Sam Snead. So we're really interested in round 4. And then you can select from the start of the round or at any certain point or hole to start. Let's start, say, hole 10. And we're interested, like we said, we want to follow Morris Otoski. So let's see how we did. So we got to select a player. You can select any player, and you'll see how they were doing, in relation to as the other players are playing. So we'll start at the hole 10 on the 4th round with Morris Otoski. We see already he was -3 for today and ahead of Sam Snead by 1 shot. And then you can just progress hole by hole here in order to proceed through 11 for Morris Otoski. You see Sam and him were even at that point. And then next, he was up by 1, and then we go to 13. He was up by 2. He starts to pull away, and then by 2 again after 14. By 15, he's up by 3. He's having a good day, -6. And through 16, he's still up by 3 with a -6 on the day. And up by 4 after 17. You see everybody else is finished and what they did for the day of everybody who played in that round. You come up to 18, finished, and how we finish off. Like I said, we can come back if we wanted to. Let's go back, say, to round 2, and then let's start at the beginning of the round. And of course, then you'll have everybody in here, all 100 and plus players, because that was before the cut. Let's just pick somebody at random here that we want to follow to find. Let's say Ernie Els at the beginning of his round. See how did he do. So Ernie was -9. At the start. He hadn't started yet at the round. So he was actually in the lead. Now let's pick somebody else who was maybe down in the middle, maybe, I don't know. Let's Jim Furyk. Let's go with him at the start of round 2. Okay, so you see Ernie, when Jim Furyk, he's in a different group, other players had already started. So we'd have to come down here and find where Jim Furyk was at that point, but it'll follow what his scoring was throughout. So if we just go next hole, you'll follow and see how everybody was doing during the round. So just showing that. So let's exit out of this. Like I said, you can do that after any of the rounds. So now let's create a tournament record. So to do that, you have to come over here to the tournament leaderboard, and you'll create the tournament record. Now this takes a while to run. So I'm going to click on it, and then I'm going to stop the video because it takes, like I said, it takes a while to run. It takes a minute or so. for it to go through, and it's going to update all the players' world golf rankings and all their statistics and everything like that, so that player performance is more accurate after every tournament. So you click on tournament, start the tournament, create the tournament record, and you'll see it'll go through. Of course, if you're having Fedex Cup Points, it's just going through that, even though we don't have that on here. Nothing was done. Now it's going to take a while to compute the world golf ranking. And like I said, then it's going to complete the statistics. And when it's all done, it'll bring you back to the next screen so that you can play the next tournament. So now let's take a look at a tournament where you as a human will actually play and record your score. So let's take the Masters. You can see it's a major, lifetime exemptions, etc. And so let's play the tournament. We'll set up the tournament conditions. You can select as such, and now the tournament field. Now in this tour, I included exemptions for past winners. And so with the Masters, with being a lifetime exemption, and we use the Legends roster, you can see it fills up quite a bit of the number of eligible 100 spots. So beware that, if you're going to use the Legends and you're going to set the Masters to lifetime exemptions, you're going to end up with this kind of situation. There's only 47 people from the current tours that aren't Legends, that weren't winners. Past winners will be able to be entered, and it's all based upon the top WGR rankings at that point in your tour. To get around this, you can, change the lifetime exemption for Masters, maybe say 10 years, 20 years, so you only pick up the most recent winners, or just delete some of the Legends players if you want from your roster. So anyway, we're going to go on with this, and it'll build up the field for playing. And then you can see we're elected to play this week. So we can take the week off and it'll fill in our spot with somebody else. Or we can say, no, we don't want to take the week off and we will be playing as well. So we're going to say, no, we don't want to take the week off. And we'll go through and set the round conditions just like we do before. You can set anything. And you are scheduled to play. We're going to play round 1. So it gets in, starts running, and then it's going to come up to a point and it's going to bring up the scorecard for you, where you're in match number 48 out of the fields there, and you start entering your scores here. Now there are a lot of edits, so if you try to enter in a negative number or a 0 or a letter, so forth like that, it's not going to allow you. You also have the opportunity to withdraw at any point before the round or during the round. You can withdraw. And we're going to go into this in a moment also, looking at the real-time leaderboard. So let's just say I come in here and I try to say a 4, and it gives you can see a running total at that point. So this allows you with the real-time leaderboard, so as you're doing this, to see how you are doing against other golfers real-time as the round progresses. So let's just say we went through here and we did this, and let's say we eagled there. Let's say we're through 9 holes and we're even. And let's go view the real-time leaderboard. And if we're even, we should find ourselves down here at even. And let's see, right there we are, Mike Jones. We put our name as Mike Jones, and everybody else that's playing and where they are in the round as far as we were after 9 holes. See, many are already finished because they were, and won the first 47 matches. Because we're in match 48, others are still playing. So then we can exit. We can also, if we want to go back, let's undo this. Let's come back here and erase some of these numbers here. You can see it resets it. So we're, at +2. So if we were after 7, where were we at this point? We were +2, and you'd see this, how the leaderboard changed at that point. We were +2. After 7 holes, right there we are. You see how everybody else was in relation to us at that point. So the point is, like, you could play here, let's say, like we said, remember, we made an eagle, and then we can view the real-time leaderboard after that hole to see how everything progressed at that point, so forth like that. So let's go ahead and finish off our round here. And just put in some random scores. And let's say we ended up being -3 for the tournament. You're going to verify the score first to make sure everything is entered correctly. And like I said, at any point you can elect to withdraw. So let's say, even if you're in the middle of the round, you could come and do that, and it'll ask if you want to withdraw. If you yes, then it's going to actually withdraw you from the tournament. No, you just come right back to here. If you cancel before you do this, it's going to be like starting the round all over again. So we verify the score. Everything is good. So let's submit our score of -3 for round 1. And then I'll finish with all the calculations for the rest of the players for the round. So as we come in, we can view the leaderboard. See, we were -3, and there we are, and how everybody else did for the round. So let's go on to round 2 then. Okay, play the round, go to round 2. And we'll come in and we'll get the opportunity to enter our scores here for round 2 now. And we'll do just like before. But let's say we had a real good round here, and so that we end up ensuring that we make the cut. So let's really make it like we went low. Okay. So there, we went -7, we'll say. So that way you can see what it looks like when you make the cut. We submit our scores. And it'll finish off, and you'll get a message here that lets you know whether you made the cut or not. In this case, we made the cut. If it were not, you'd say, sorry, you didn't make the cut. So as we look at the leaderboard, there we are. We're still not caught up, but we're catching up at that point. And you see everybody that missed the cut. Like I said, also you'll get DQs and withdrawals also at random, more so in the weekly, every day, or every week tournaments, more so than, say, in the majors, where people would probably tend to not be disqualified or withdraw as much. So let's play round 3. And also with the likelihoods of withdrawals, people who shot worse scores will probably tend to withdraw more so than people who had the better scores. The system is set up to work like that as well. So we'll go to round 3. And we'll just enter in some scores here. Let's say we had a very boring all 4s. Let's see what happens with that. So we ended up even. You can go, like I said, view the real-time leaderboard at the end of round 3 if you wanted. Submit our score. View the leaderboard. So we drop down there. Hideki is still leading by 4. And we come in. Let's go with round 4. And let's say we want to go low again. So we just finish this up. 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 4, 4, 4. There's no maximum. If you enter 33 on here, it's going to think that's legit. So there is no maximum. Of course, if you enter 0, see invalid score entered. It has to be between, our letter, see invalid score. So you have to have some sort of legitimate number there. Let's say we made a hole-in-one also, so you can see what that looks like, a double bogey. Let's say make a hole-in-one right there. And then birdie and birdie, -8. Let's see what happens. Submit our score. And we come back and look at the leaderboard, and we see there's a tie. And I actually made a hole-in-one on 16. Now this is good that we ended up in a tie, so you can see how a tie or a playoff will work. We have a 3-way playoff happening right here. So we're going to go to the playoff screen. You'll get a message that looks like that, just playoff. Now, with LVT, you have the option here of determining the number of holes to determine winners, such as like if you have the US Open, they play 18 holes. Or the British Open, I think they used to play 5 holes. So if you want just a single hole to determine the winner, you'll put a 1. But if you say you want an 18, then okay, then you're going to have to play all 18 holes to get your results to determine the winner, or you can make it 5 or whatever. But if after 5 holes or 18 or whatever it is, if you still have a tie, then it will become a single hole sudden death playoff until you finally come up with a winner. Now, right now, we're just going to play one. We're going to make this one like they do in the Masters, single hole. It always starts back at 18, but you can change this to a different hole if you want. So we're going to get our scores, and we got to enter our score first. So let's say we made a 4 on the hole. Excuse me, that's Dustin Johnson's. And see what happens here. See, you got to enter your score. It's not going to accept that. It's looking for yours. So let's say we have a 4 there. We're going to get the scores. And okay, in this case, Bryson won it automatically right there. He can now record the tournament. If there had been 2 of us, then say I had made a 3, then Bryson and me would go on to the next hole. Dustin would be eliminated, and we'd have to put in which hole we're going to go to. Maybe we went back to 10. And so you can pre-fill these as much as you want, or you can fill them in one at a time as you go. So now we're ready to create the tournament record. You see Bryson won it, and then Dustin and me tied for second. And now you're back to creating the tournament record. And we can do that, like I said before, like we showed before. Or you can come back and actually, do the hole by hole leaderboard if you want to do that. We can see how we did. Let's take a look, for instance, at 4. Started round 4, and let's start at like maybe hole 15. And let's come down to, that's right here. We were way behind. How did we make this terrific comeback at that point? And we find out what the leaderboard looked like at this point. Here we were 3 shots back, and then we come up here, and we increased to only 1 shot back, and then we tied. We have a 3-way tie, and then I finished off at -18, and then Dustin and Hideki had 3 more holes to play, and Dustin was at 15, and then Bryson started coming in, and he finished off also at 18 and so forth. And Dustin, he could have won it, but he was only able to par out, and that's how we ended up with our 3-way tie. So like I said, we're going to come back here, and we'll pause the video at this point so that we can go ahead and create the tournament record, and then we will pick back up with the next piece of instructions. Okay, so here we've just restarted the season so we can show you another feature about tournament play. Let's say you start to play a tournament, and let's say that we do want to use an exemption and play in here. So we will have, in this case, 2 exemptions left then. And we're going to set our round conditions, start to play. Let's say we're coming in here, and we are playing through the links. I say we're having a real bad round or something like that, but we still want to play the tournament. So we ended up +6, we'll say. We withdraw. We're going to submit our score. And we're going to view the leaderboard. See, we're way down here at +6, we'll say. Bringing up the bottom. So let's say then we get going here, and we start to play round 2. And we're coming in, and let's say we're going to make it bad to where we do not make the cut. So let's just give it all 5s. Let's make it real easy here. Yeah, we're definitely not going to make the cut being +17 after this on the second round. See, invalid score entered because I forgot 18. Say, okay. There, submit the score. And we'll get the message that says we did not make the cut. Sorry, you missed the cut. Well, okay, let's say I really wanted to play this tournament and I don't like the way things are going. Well, you can play the system here, you can just restart the tournament. So if we restart the tournament, everything that's been played up to that point will be erased, and we'll come back to here, start the tournament again, and we will see that our exemptions have been reinstated back to what we had before. So you can play the tournament or you can skip it, as you saw there. So let's go ahead and just so we can get through this quick season here, we're going to go through and play this tournament, and then we're going to play the Masters tournament without us being involved, so we can get to the point of where you can see what happens at the end of the season. So let's just give this a few minutes here to get through this, and then we'll get to the end of the season. So let's go ahead and play this off and see if anything else happens during the playing of the tournaments here. We will also show you here after we finish this season, we will show you what happens at the start of the next season. And then we're also going to come in and show you match play. LVT does support match play. There are a few limitations within match play, such as it must be a 64-man field, and the 5th and 6th rounds, which are the semifinal and final rounds, must be played on the same course. But up until that point, you can vary the courses that the tournament is played on. Also, if you are playing in the tournament, at the beginning of the tournament, you can opt to take the week off if you're qualified to play it. It is also, I believe, only the top 64 WGR people are eligible to play. But if you do elect to play, then you cannot withdraw and you will not be DQ'd. Even in stroke play, you as a player are never DQ'd, but like you said, you can optionally withdraw. But in the match play, once you start playing it, you must finish it. If you, for some reason, you don't want to complete the tournament, then you just give yourself a high score so that you are no longer eligible for the next round of the tournament. So now this is going to go through and compute the WGR and update all the statistics. And then we're going to come back and play the Masters tournament. And then we'll pick this back up where at the end of the season. So you can see what happens with season ending processing and the start of the next season. Okay, so we've completed our last tournament and we've created our tournament record for the last tournament of the season. And when you get that, then you'll get a message saying the season that you're in is ended and it's ready for closeout. So you come back to here and you'll click on you can see it was just a real quick season for demo purposes. You'll click on the closeout season button, and then it will go through a lot of calculations and update the statistics to complete and close out the whole season. You can see what takes the longest is it's updating the player WGR information because the World Golf Rankings run throughout the year, and as the year progresses, the older ones fall off and the older ones also become less weighted. So we have to go through, like this was a real small season, only 2 weeks, but so that means we still have to go through the calculations for week 3 through week 52. So that's what these off weeks are, and that's as it increments all the way up to 52 and updating the stats and recalculating the WGR for each of the players on the roster for all the remaining weeks, and that's what takes a while. So this could take a little bit of time to run, maybe like 5 minutes or so for you to complete the season. So once this completes, we'll come back in here and then you can see what it looks like when you start the second season of your tour. Okay, so the 2022 season's been closed out. That took about 15 minutes to run. I'm sorry, it's probably closer to 15 instead of 5 minutes to close out the season. So you see it's been closed out, and now it kicks right into the 2023 season. We have to initialize that. And if we go to initializing the season, it'll come back. We can copy the 2022 schedule, like we said, and use that as a start. And we can also have the option of increasing the tournament purses from last season. It'll increase them at random, maybe up to say 5% or something like that. But if you want to use only the schedule from last year, just copy it. But if you also want to possibly include some others, you can bring in some other tours as well. If you do not select this, it's just going to bring those in, and there will be no schedule pre-filled in. But if we go like this, cannot select copy for less along with the tour source. So you can only copy like this, my bad. And when you do that though, it'll bring in all the others as options to add to your tour, all the other tournaments. So when you do copy from last season, it starts off with what you had, and then it brings in all the other tournaments that you can use to play your season. So we want to go through, and I want to start this up with also a match play season, or excuse me, a match play tournament, so we can show you how match play works. So we come here, and then we're going to move it up to the first tournament of the season, and then in a little bit we'll show you a match play. So we're going to save the schedule, and it'll generate the 2023 season. It's initialized, and then we can start with the match play tournament. Okay, so here we're going to look at match play. So we've got a schedule here, and we have our match play tournament. See 6 rounds, and the match play tournaments must be 64 players, and will be the top players in the world at that point, and the course there. So we play the tournament, set up the tournament conditions, the field selection will be made, and in this case I've put myself to where I will play, so you can see what it looks like. You could take the week off and it'll be substituted with someone else, but there are 64 players, the matches, so we don't want to take the week off. Let's set the round conditions. We're going to play the round, and the scorecard will come up. It looks a little different than the stroke play card. Here you have who you're playing against, what they scored on the hole, and then the conditions. So you enter your score. Say I made a 4, and hit enter, and then it records it on the scorecard. So that way you can see how you're playing against your opponent as the match progresses. Let's say I hit a 6, and I hit it wrong. Oops, undo. See, so undo the last score. But let's say I go 5 and maybe 4. Let's see if we can get this to where it's all square, because I can see what the opponent made on that hole, so I can match it all the way through to ensure that we get an all square situation, so you can see what the playoffs look like. So we'll go through like that real quick here and get it finished. Okay, all square. We're going to go to sudden death. So it just comes right back to the same thing. You see what your opponent made, and then you'll go through until somebody wins a hole. So we'll go ahead and we'll win the hole here. Okay, I won. We're going to record the results. Come over here, record the results, and then you'll see other players, the rest of the field, and what their results were. And if some of them ended up all square, then their playoffs have to be conducted. So you'll come over here and conduct the playoffs, and then it'll complete that. And you can see the sudden death playoffs, what happened right here. There's also what the scores were during the round. If you go to play or to sudden death, it comes back and overwrites that. And then come back to the recap. We're going to record the round now. And then you're ready to start the next round. And so we can go back and look at that recap. Like we said, we can restart the hole or restart the tournament. Let's go ahead and play the second round. And it just repeats all the way through until you get to the the finals. So let's go ahead and do this to where it takes to where I lose, so we can go ahead and get through with this real quick here. So I'll go ahead and enter everything, and then we'll go ahead and get it taken care of so that I lose real quick here, and we can finish off everything. Okay, see, have there. So we're going to finish conducting the playoffs. If there are no playoffs, then it'll just go right straight to record the round. And so we come back and we'll go to the round 3. Now this time the scorecard won't come up because I am no longer in the tournament. The remaining players, 3. And now I'll just take you over there, record the round. See, there were no playoffs, so we just go straight to recording it. Go to a screen, play the round. Okay, I'm coming down to the end here, record it. And we're going to play the semifinals. Set the conditions, play the semifinals. Okay, record it. Now we're ready to play the finals. Just as in the real match play, the 2 winners play, and then there would be a consolation match as well. And there you go, it's complete. You see, and Justin Thomas won. Record the round. And then it goes into the tournament recording and updating all the Fedex Cup information and the statistics, which takes a few minutes. So that's doing match play. Here I've created a new tour that we're going to look at with the Fedex Cup competition. So I've already created the tour and now I have to initialize the season. Since the Fedex Cup is only done in the PGA Tour, if you bring in any of the other tour schedules, it won't reflect it unless you add them, of course, to be part of the Fedex Cup competition. So now let's just pick a few tournaments to put them in here just so we can get things going. I don't want to put in an alternate. So let's do that, just a couple. And then you'll see there's playoffs here as well. These are the Fedex Cup playoff tournaments, the 3 of them there. And then there's the Tour Championship. Now there are some rules here in trying to set the schedule. It's going to give you warnings and let you know when if you do something wrong. So for instance, the Tour Championship has to be the last tournament of the season. So if I try to save this, it's going to tell me that I got to move the Honda Classic up to before the Tour Championship. And of course, the Honda Classic can't be in between there. The playoffs must all be in a row. And then the playoffs also have to occur with the right reduction in players. See, this one starts off at 70, and the Fedex St. Jude is 125, so that won't be good. So if I try to save it, it's going to tell me I got to move the Fedex St. Jude up. So if we do that, and then the Tour Championships at the end, then we have a nice little schedule with the Fedex Cup competition included. So if we come over to the Save the Schedule, and I'm going to do that, I'm going to bring us over here to our tour page, and now we're ready to start playing the tournaments within the Fedex Cup competition schedule. We're going to play a tournament here and then show you what it looks like. It's very similar to a regular non-Fedex Cup tournament schedule, tournament. It's just that there's a little slight difference. I'm not going to put myself into any tournament so we can make it go faster. Your score entry would be the same in a non-Fedex Cup tournament as it would in a Fedex Cup tournament. So let's let it do its thing here. And the only difference in the tournaments is that it's going to display at the end of the tournament the Fedex Cup points that were awarded to the players. So let's let it finish up and we'll complete this tournament very quickly. And then you'll see what we're talking about there. We'll play round 2. Okay, almost there. Okay, we had a couple withdrawals. Like I said before, those can happen at random with some sort of, like I said, people with the higher scores might tend to withdraw more so than the people with the lower scores, and you'll probably see more withdrawals during the first 2 rounds of a tournament than rather towards the last 2. And you'll see more withdrawals in regular weekly tournaments than you would, say, in majors or WGC tournaments. Okay, we're on round 3 here. And one more round. And at the end of this round on the leaderboard, you will see the Fedex Cup points that were awarded to each player and how they finish. And there you go, the Fedex Cup points. The point allocation here was based upon how you set up your Fedex Cup points system. And so then you'll create the tournament record and it'll update the Fedex Cup points for the player for the season, since we now have, we're using that. So that's basically the only difference with the Fedex Cup points. In the next section, we'll go over the playoffs so that you can see how that works out, especially the Tour Championship. Okay, so I've played the season with the Fedex Cup Tour, and we're down to the last, the Tour Championship. So I want to show you how that looks different than the other tournaments. So we're going to play the tournament. And of course, we're only going to have the top 30 players at this point in the Fedex Cup standings. And we're going to play the round. And you'll see a difference on the leaderboard because of the seeding that happens at the Tour Championship. So you see, they start off at the seeding. Curtis Thompson, who was the leader in Fedex Cup points up to this point, starts off at -10. Nick Hardy at -8, etc. And this is what their starting score is. And then you add in what they actually shot, and you get a cumulative to par. And then so this is what it's ranked as from the standings. So if we come back and we do a second round, you'll see a composite of the first 2 rounds, what it looks like. And of course, you can modify that starting seeding amount in the Tour Fedex Cup point database change. So you can see how it works out right here. You can see Guido doing very good. He moved on up there, even though he started off at -2. And we'll play the round here. And so we get to the end of the Tour Championship, and it'll tell you who won the Fedex Cup Points Championship. Go to the 4th round finally. And we'll see the last round's results. And as you can see, Curtis Thomas blew everybody away. But now I need to create the tournament record, and it'll go through the normal process of, as it does with every other tournament, and creating a tournament record. But at the end, it'll come back and tell you who ended up actually winning the Fedex Cup Points Championship for the season. And then if you want to see the standings, the final standings or not. So I'm going to break the video at this point. We're going to take a look at the tour reports. As you can see, I've already played a few seasons, and we're into the 2025 season. So we've completed 22, 23, and 24, just a short schedule. So let's go over to the reports. And this is your report screen. You have a choice of tour reports or individual player reports, and you choose which season your report is for, or if it's over the entire career. The reports are basically just data dumps that let you do the formatting and make them design and pretty however you want. But let's just take a look at a few of these here. For instance, like let's just go back a couple of years, maybe 2023. And this was the schedule back in 2023. I can look at a tournament result, I can look at player details if I want. Let's just take a look at the Masters from that time. And some reports take a few seconds longer than the others because of how it has to process the data. So let's give this one just a moment here, and you'll see what it looks like when it's done. It might take just a little bit because I think this is one of the longer running reports. So I'm going to pause this and then we'll come right back when it's ready. Okay, we're back. It just took just maybe 30 seconds or so to produce that report, but here's the detail, the results from the Masters back then, and here's how every player did for that tournament. And when you're done, you just X out. You can save it if you want, or you don't have to. You can see you can view it, or you can automatically save it directly without necessarily viewing it. Let's come over here and take a look at, say, tournament leaders. But let's just keep in 2023 and let's see who had the most or what the wins were for 2023. And this one's pretty fast to create. And I'll go through the entire roster and come back with the number of wins each player had for that season. I used a really big roster here using the PGA, Legends, and Champions. So that's why it takes a little bit longer than if you had just only, say, the PGA players or just the Legends or just the Champions. So you can see what our distribution was for that year. Like I said, you can also do it over career. Let's look at top 10s over the career. Now this one might take a little bit longer to run because it's got to go through every player through every season. I take that back. I keep a career so that it doesn't take so long. So there's the wins so far over the career. And then you also can have scoring. You can have stroke average. You can see who's had the best stroke average over a career or over a season. Let's go 2024, we'll say. You can pick the number of rounds minimum because maybe one player might have shot 63 in one round and they would be the leader, but you could change this up to say, maybe let's say 12 rounds. Let's look at stroke average. They had to have played at least 12 rounds in order to qualify to be on here. And this is for the 2024 season. And of course, it's got to go through every player, so it'll take just a few seconds to generate. So we'll just sit here with this one so you get an idea how long some of these might take. They're not too bad. How many rounds they played and what the scoring average was for that year. And we'll look at one more over here, just say maybe birdies. And let's look at career. And let's go here. And there's the career birdies. Let's look over here on the other side, on the player side. You can pick an individual player, or you can use Control and click to pick for more than one player in any given report. You can look at their tournament results. Let's take Weiskopf since he seems to had done pretty good. Let's scroll down to Tom Weiskopf. And we'll look at his results. Now I can include the tournaments he did not enter, or I can deselect that and only show the tournaments that he did enter. But we'll pick it all. And let's go through his whole career. At this point, that'd be about 3 or 4 seasons. And let's see what we got. See 2022, 23, 24. And so just like I said, it's a dump because you can pick more than one player and it'll show that. And it shows the tournaments and how he did in each of them. And you'll see some lines here such as the Fedex Cup bonus payout, how much you got, because I did do a Fedex Cup season here. So you have that, or a top 10 bonus. So this is, you get something that looks like that. And also you can do world golf ranking. Let's say I want to see how during the 2023 season up through maybe the 2024, throughout that whole season, how did, let's just say, Art Wall Jr. do? Let's see. And at the end of the 2023 season, he was ranked 201. At the beginning of the season, he was ranked 223. So you can see how what their average points was and how they progressed throughout the season. If we come back over here real quick, let's just take a look at World Golf Ranking. You can look at that at any point in any seasons. Let's say the 2024 season and say the 6th week of the 2024 season. What did it look like? And I don't have to go through the players for that. So give it a moment. And you will see it'll display their current total points, average points, what they were this week, and what they were last week. And finally, we'll take a look at the player stats. Let's come back down here to Tom Weiskopf again, and we'll give a look at all of his player stats for 2024, we'll say. And this is what he had in 2024, just a recap of everything. Plus, we also included his initial earnings because we elected to do that when we set up a tour. We started with people's earnings. If we want to see career, we can do it like this. Say Tom Weiskopf again, career, create the report. And there you go. In 2022, the initial earnings, beginning of his career, what he did in 2022, entered 7 tournaments, finished top 10 4 times. He got a Fedex Cup bonus payout of $1.5 million. In 2023, what he did, 2024, and so far what we've started so far in 2025. Like I said, you can pick more than one player. Let's just take Ken Venturi and Camilo Vegas. And let's just look at their tournament results. And this time we're not going to include the ones that they did not enter. And give it a moment to run here. And then you'll see how it looks with multiple players. There. So we start off with Ken Venturi and how he did week by week and only the tournaments he entered. That's why you see it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then jumps to 8 because he did not enter those other tournaments. And then Camilo Vegas, what he did and only the tournaments he played in. And of course, he did not get any FedEx Cup payout in 23 or 24, so it's just 0. It looks like he didn't enter in any tournaments in 2024. So that's the look at the tour reports. Okay, here we're going to take a look at playing the LVT Cup. The LVT Cup is kind of like the Ryder Cup or President's Cup. So we'll click on the button. And first we have to select the course at which the competition will be held at. Let's just say Bethpage Black. And then it's going to copy all of your roster from the LVT program over to the LVT Cup program. So it takes a moment to copy everything. As you can see, it's going through alphabetically. While it's doing that, we'll mention that you have a day 1 for aggregate and 4-ball, day 2 for aggregate and 4-ball, and day 3 is the individuals competition. And you'll be able to enter in your information just on the sheets here if you're participating. You can have the computer pick random rosters, teams, or you can set the teams based on the World Golf Ranking. You can select specific players to be on the teams and also set up specific matches if you want to as well. We'll show that in just a moment. You will also see you can have the US versus Europe or rest of world or some combination of those matches. So here we do that, and let's go ahead, click on there, and then we'll initialize. Give it just a second. So let's just say, since we're playing on Bethpage, let's change it to the USA. And then let's have Europe or rest of the world. Let's go with just Europe for our demonstration here. We initialize. Okay, so now we can set our teams. You can pick specific players to be on the team by putting an X in the appropriate column. You can sort this by country or World Golf Ranking So I'm going to make sure that I play so I can show you the entry of my scores. I had set up my player as Mike Jones, so let's scroll down there and put in Mike Jones. Right here he is under the USA. We'll just put an X there. And we're going to leave the rest to be just up to the computer to select. So then we can select our teams at random for Europe or by WGR, same for the US. So let's go by WGR here. And you can see those come up. And over here, WGR, we'll say. And so you can see Mike Jones is first, but then the rest of the players. Now we can set our matches as well here. Like I said, we can say I want to be in the first match, and I want to be matched with, say, Tony Finau. And then I can also set up others if I wanted to as well. Or you can just let the computer set them up randomly. So we'll let that pick. And let's say we'll pick the rest here. So you can see I'm still set up with Tony Finau, and the rest were selected randomly. Now we can go over to day one. The matches are all set up. And then I will click on Get the 4-ball scores. It's going to run through this originally for the first set of matches, so it takes a little bit. But then after that, it runs very fast. So let's give it a second here. There you go. And you can see the first scores are already entered, and there's an opening there for my score. Let's say I got a 3 on that one. Okay, and then we'll get the next set of scores. And as you can see, it progresses a whole lot of time as the matches would normally progress. Let's say I made a 5 there, and so forth. And we'll just go through, and you can see how it just goes through here, playing the match out, and so forth. And you can see how it would play all the way out. And then you would set up the second half of the day, their matches as well. There's a recap sheet which will show you at the end how everybody did as a total. And also if you're in the difficulty before you start off, you can set up the difficulty variables just like you do in the LVT. So that's a quick look at the LVT Cup. Oh, also, if you get started into it and you want to stop, just like we did right here, you can always exit out. And it'll take you back to the LVT screen. And then you can do some other stuff. And let's say you want to come back in, play the LVT Cup for that tour. And you have your choice. You can either cancel where you had already started, or you can go back like if you had come in here by accident, or you can click on yes to continue. If you click on yes, it'll pick right back up where you left off, and you can continue your competition. If you click no, so there you are, and then you can come right back in and pick up. If you had clicked no, it would take you back to the LVT main screen and tell you that the LVT Cup has been canceled, and you can restart that if you want. So that's a look at the LVT Cup.